happy lunchtime, nasties. Oh.
It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielsen, Matt Cassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
Well, happy lunchtime, nasties. Boy, that was the most suspense I've been in a long time. I've never had to wait through that entire intro, which today is incorrect. The goalie is here, Joaquin Gage.
Hey, now.
The two guys are Tom Gazzola.
Hi.
And me, Reid Wilkins. How's it going, everybody? Hey, good to see you guys. All three of us on air together. I'm thrilled.
Look at us.
This is look at us.
Look at us.
Hey? That's it's amazing being with you two. First time, Tommy, with you on Two Guys. Have I? Yeah,
Yes,
we've
done Two Guys.
We've done Two Guys
numerous times.
But Reid, this is the
Yeah, this is the first time I've been on an EST show
on the flagship program
called the Reid Wilkins Show, the flagship program. Two guys and a goalie.
That's bold.
Because you run around with a flag.
Exactly.
Of course, we are presented by GS Construction, setting the industry standard for 50 years with quality, efficiency, and safety, driving their success. GS Construction has a foundation built on teamwork, and now they want you to become part of the team. Visit gsconstruction.ca and click Ready to Work, or visit their page at indeed.ca with the Next Person Up program at GS Construction. It's not just a job, it is a career. Our good friend Joaquin Gage had a career as a professional hockey player, and some young Oilers prospects, or some young hockey players, I guess they're not all technically Oilers property, are in Penticton hoping to get a start on theirs. So we were wondering, like, very curious, Tom and I.
Okay.
You debuted in the NHL in the 94-95 season, played more games the following year in 95-96 with the Edmonton Oilers. So, you know, when you, this was 30 years ago, was there
Thanks, Reid.
was there a rookie camp? Was there a rookie tournament? Were there special things for rookies? Like, what was it like?
Yeah, there was. We had a summer of kind of gathering that you have after the draft, and with a bunch of prospects. It's the first time I met Louis DeBrusque at that. It was during K-Days, too. So
nice.
We staying at the Forum Inn.
Coliseum.
The Coliseum.
Forum Inn,
and walking across, and we just got to we went to the paintball firing range where the guy was wearing like basically all goal gear, and we just found it hilarious just shooting this guy in his junk with a paintball gun. We thought it was awesome. But yeah, Louis had the big mullet, just big mammoth man. Jason Arnott was there. Brad Zawisza. I think he was a first rounder with Quebec, if I'm not mistaken. Scott Allison, Ralph Intranuvo, Kurt Maltby. So some old names there, but it was very difficult. Andrew Werner was the other goalie at the time. Verns was a big guy for the Peterborough Petes, kind of the Oilers goalie of the future. I was trying to get that mantle from him through training camp, but was a really a good goalie. And that was, I remember Ronnie Lowe coming to the glass because it was my first pro camp and not realizing how hard it actually is. And Ronnie Lowe came down, and I was told he got in between. We were at Confed, I think, practicing, and he went right between the partitions.
Yep.
And he called me over and goes, Joaquin, how you feeling? I go, oh, tired, coach. And then he expletive, get my button gear. So, because I think I was pretty straight-legged after about 800 shots. So, but eye-opening experience for sure.
I was always curious what rookie camps were in your era, and even like, because it evolved in the last 15 years too. I know it would be at Millennium Place.
Yeah.
And then the Young Stars Classic came on board. I know they did it one year in Camrose, but I don't think it had the title and the umbrella of the Young Stars Classic. And it has even evolved in those iterations. But so in the mid-90s, so you guys had one, and it was basically like, what were they trying to get out of you guys? Or was it a welcome to the organization kind of thing?
Well, that was kind of a welcome to the organization in the summertime. But when we got to actual camp, now they play in Penticton, but back then we had essentially the same thing at Max Bell down in Calgary, where we would be playing against obviously the Flames, Vancouver farm teams, and that was a lot of fun my first year too, because the minor league guys with Edmonton were superstars in the American Hockey League, but huge characters like Bill McDougall, Dan Curry. I forget a couple other guys.
Is Dan Curry the guy that when Slats called him, he's like, don't call me up?
Yeah, he basically hung up on Slats and said, no, I'm not coming.
Right.
And Slats phoned him back, I guess. This is how the story goes.
Yeah.
And so he goes, no, Dan, we want you to come up. And he goes, Slats, you're just going to put me on the fourth line. I'm going to get 2 shifts and you're going to send me right back down. And Slats was like, no, Dan, we want you. We want you to be part of this. We're making a push here. And he's okay. So he got on the plane from Sydney, gets to Edmonton. On the fourth line, 2 shifts after the game, gets sent right back to
class.
It's just, It's like, well, I guess he's not an impact player.
Yeah,
Played 4 minutes, didn't do anything.
Non-prospect, right?
Back-to-back 50-goal seasons for the Cape Breton Oilers. Both of his 50-goal pucks. I don't think the bar's there anymore, but it was called Smooth Herman's. It's the only bar in Canada at the time that was open till 4 a.m. And spent probably too much time there.
So, okay, there's several things you said interested me. Is that they had the rookie camp during K-Days, which is late July, which is now actually a time when hockey's finally off. I mean, there's often development camps first or sometimes even into the second week of July, depending on the organization, because they'll get the young players after the draft and get them somewhere and work together or do some things. But so that's, but you didn't get to skate, but Northlands didn't have the ice.
No.
So you stayed near Northlands. You went to K-Days for fun, but you had to go to Confed to actually get on the ice.
Yeah. So we would go over to what was it? It was probably Northlands at the time, and then get half dressed, get in cube vans, and drive somewhere. And it'd be 2-a-days too, which was tough. So, and we did the full physical testing as well, like Wingate, VO2 max sit-ups, but whatever it was back then. So if you hadn't had experience with doing that before, you were probably pretty bagged just after that. So, I remember the next year doing it. Well, maybe it was the third year of me doing it. I was quite well prepared because I knew what was happening. So I actually knocked the physical testing out of the park. And I remember we were at, where was it? Was it Molson House?
By the brewery?
The brewery.
That was Molson House.
Yeah,
legendary because of the Gretzky.
Yeah, that's where we were there for a luncheon, and there's a bunch of tables, a bunch of rookies. And Slats loved the physical testing stuff to hold over guys a little bit. And he came around table to table, sat at ours, and he goes, "How's it going, guys? And how'd you do?" And some guys, "Oh, I don't know. They were younger." And then he looks at me, and I just said, I killed it. I knocked it out of the park. He goes, "Well, you should. It's your third year." So he ripped me for that, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I can't win." But no, it was eye opener. Then when your first year when you play, and that was when we played against the U of A too, right? The Bears.
Oh, right.
So
those are great games.
Those were unreal games. Yeah, but a pressure cooker. I remember you only playing it once usually, but I was going in second. I can't remember the other goalie that was with me that played, but I think I went in and we were down a goal. So, and you can't lose, right? So I get that,
but the U of A, they're
good.
Team.
I used to go to those games. They were great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And they're working their bags off because they know there's scouts in the stands. They want to beat the Oilers, and they're not a normal kind of university level team. There's guys that are a little bit older, so it was a very, very intense, really good hockey game. Plus you're kind of, even though you're wearing the Oilers uniforms, it's almost like going into a visiting arena because all the students want their Bears to beat the Oilers. So it was good. We won that game because on the strength of great goaltending, I guess.
The last time they had that, getting off topic a little bit, Darnell played in it.
Yeah.
Nurse played in it. That's the last time. So since you and I were there, Tom, I don't know if they had it after that. So I don't think Leon played in it. But I remember interviewing Darnell after his Oilers rookies against the U of A. I think the Oilers won 4-3 or something. Like it was a close game. Yeah.
It was really good.
Well, and it's packed, right?
Yeah. I think they had one at Rexall the year Connor was drafted.
Oh, right. They did. They moved it. Yes.
I had the good fortune of getting to do color with Bob on the radio broadcast. Did you? Yeah, and it was so much fun. I think you guys were on holidays or something like that, and Jack was probably in Hawaii. And
okay, September 20. Thank you, Tom. September 21st, 2016. There was one. It says the Bears lost 6-3. And then it says September of 2015, and it says for that a neutral site on the Bears website. So that would have been Rexall Place, and it was 6-3 for the Oilers rookie. So yes, did Connor play in it?
I think he did.
He did because he lit it up. He had like 5 goals, and one of them they ran on TSN, and they had my description of it.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I was like, no way.
But then it wasn't. Oh, I don't know if this is complete though, because then it says there wasn't one since 2009. But I know Darnell played in one.
He did
because I interviewed him.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is a complete list.
I think Leon even played in that one at Rexall.
Oh yeah, he probably did too. Yeah, and you're right. They moved it to Rexall, but now there hasn't been one for a while, and we may never see one again, unfortunately.
There was a falling out,
right,
between someone at the Oilers and the U of A. So they tried the McEwen-Nate hybrid.
Oh, did they?
Which was okay, but it's not the same.
Oh, right. Yeah, I remember that one.
It's not the same.
That was at Rogers Place.
Yeah.
Remember that McEwen goalie had some incredible game? Because then we all interviewed him the next day.
Right.
Well, if only we knew we were going to talk about this, we'd have the names.
Well,
and the
we're
exact
in that
scores.
time frame, right? We're in that time frame. Now we're going to get the Young Stars Classic, and then by next weekend, we're talking about the first preseason game on the 22nd against Winnipeg. That's also Fan Day down at Rogers Place. So if you're planning, get the family, you want to get close to the Oilers, see them in action.
Is that practice?
I think so. Yeah, they're doing Fan Day on the 22nd, and there's a game that day.
I wonder if I went to the game you were in, though, because as a student, I was at the U of A from 91 to 95. I went to at least 2.
Okay, yeah.
And it was just crazy.
It was
packed.
crazy. Yeah, that was a great game to play in. I remember just the energy of the whole thing. I couldn't, usually when you come out for a game, it's warm-up's not completely packed, but it was jammed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Just jammed.
That's cool.
And it was weird because it was quiet till we got out on the ice, and then it just started bumping after that. But I wish they didn't have the falling out. That's a great game.
Yes.
Especially for young players to go play in Claire Drake. I think, I think we're going to talk about it a little bit more later, but you as brass of a team, like the scouting staff, the coaching staff, you want to see how your players react in different types of situations. Hence the whole thing in Penticton this weekend. I think you can really get a good view of a player going into a hostile environment like the U of A with a bunch of school kids putting up cans of beer and cheering their Bears on.
I love that.
And seeing how the players react to that not being together, first of all, trying to get some chemistry and playing against a really good hockey team that has chemistry and has a really good coach that's been in every professional level on the planet.
Yeah. Well, and you talk about seeing how players react. And to me, that would also be a bit of a welcome to Edmonton moment.
Yeah.
Like if the kids who grew up, anywhere else, and like, oh yeah, I know the U of A has a good program. I don't know, in my city or my community, the team doesn't get any fans, and then you walk into Claire Drake and you're like, oh
yeah,
this is part of where I'm going to live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
I do. Oh, go ahead.
No, I think I remember even Stephen Rice. I think he took a couple classes when he played for the Oilers too. He was going to the U of A.
So he was
I think it was more scouting missions.
Yes. There's a lot of talent at the U of A. There really is. That was another perk of those games. You'd be like, oh my, look at, this is what I missed out on going to Nate. And, anyway, I remember one of those games, Levko Koper, if you recall that name.
Yes.
I think he got a cup of coffee, not a cup of coffee. He was at Young Stars Classic with the Jets.
Yeah, he got invited.
Local product, played U of A.
Long hair.
Long hair. Good player. Like, I think WHL, good player of the dub.
Yep.
He scored a couple goals against the Oilers, and I think he was pretty physical up against them.
He could be a little
He didn't take any
chippy,
crap.
yeah.
And I think the guys were getting annoyed by him, and I remember talking to them in the room after, and they're like, what the hell's Coper's problem? Like, stop it. You're U of A.
But that's the thing, though, for those guys. It's like
Jets rookie camp. Like, he was in the like, he's not going to take crap
backing
because
down.
you guys are the Oilers rookies. But I remember that, and I was like, kind of like, good for him, you know?
Okay, so you also mentioned Jason Arnott.
Yeah.
That you were a rookie camp with him. Now he's coming in high draft pick.
Yeah.
What was he, 7th overall in '93 and jumped right in and had a 68-point season as a rookie. And that was, the Oilers had been awesome, 90, 91, and 92, not as good in the regular season, still make the conference finals. And then he was the guy, okay, now we're going to build back up around this guy. Did he have that swagger? Like, did he sort of identify himself as that, or was he more humble?
No, I don't. He didn't. If hockey arrogance, I guess, to put it, everyone has a little bit of it. But I didn't. With Arnie, I didn't feel that way at all. He was just a young guy that wanted to be an NHL player. He got more confident because I remember the beginning of that season, and I went back to junior. I got called back to sit on the bench because they couldn't find their goalies or something like that. I was in Calgary partying at my buddy Cale Hulse's place. And
hey, he married a Baywatch babe.
Yeah. Cale wasn't even there. He was playing in Utica at the time.
Okay.
And I was staying at their house. I stayed there for like 3 weeks. It was probably pretty bad. I basically squatted in his room for 3 weeks. But yeah, I met the Oilers in Winnipeg. And then back in Edmonton, Slats was still coaching at that point.
Oh, he had to take over.
He had to
for
take
George
over.
Burnett?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
No, not George. George coached the team the next year. I don't know who.
Teddy Green?
Was it
Probably Teddy.
Was it when Ted Green was there?
Yeah, because anyway, the Arnie had a lot more confidence and I went. I stayed overnight at him and Fred Brathwaite's place, and complete bachelors, like NHL rookie bachelors. Like, they had a big place in Riverbend with like a couch and a big, huge TV. And like, that was it. Like, maybe 2 forks, 4 plates. It was a mausoleum. Like, you'd talk and you go, hello. And you go to the fridge and it's just like Coors Light. Like, it's just,
What's the problem here?
it was glorious. I was like, I can't wait to be in the NHL. This is amazing. But no, he had a lot more confidence at that time. Just, God, those guys were beauties. Just absolute beauties. And then Arnie liked the speed too. He had the governor taken out of his big Dodge Ram or something like that, and he was driving way too fast. And back then it was great. All the guys had snowmobiles.
I've heard snowmobile tales from multiple Oilers
So
alumni.
and I remember. Well, the next year when I played, I could, because I was out in Riverbend at the same time, and I would hear the buzz of the snowmobiles and look out, and there would be like Marchment and Corson and Bucky and Slats would go with them too. The one time, I don't know if I'm speaking out of school here, but I think they were on the North Saskatchewan and Bucky flipped his, but he had an Ironman streak going.
Yes.
And he dressed the next game, but he could hardly skate. But Slats kept him going. He dressed him and let him skate around for a shift and then come back. So he kept his Ironman streak going. But
he told that story, and it was like,
yeah, that was
might
pretty
be in trouble.
bad.
Yeah,
but and then Mush would always he'd be driving his snowmobile and stop by my place, come in reeking a diesel with his snowmobile pants and sitting on my couch and have a beer and talk and then take off.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a contract that said, or I'm just curious, the wording, don't skydive or don't remember Larry Robinson broke his leg playing polo?
Yeah.
And then a bunch of Canadians fans were like, why is he playing polo?
That's a great question. Why the hell is he playing
so
polo?
what was...
I think the wording in there is something like they can, because I don't know if you remember a goalie in Boston. His name was John Graham.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all out. I shouldn't tell these stories. Whatever.
It's all good. Statute of limitations.
So the story goes, he was at a bar and there was an altercation involving females and other guys, and got pushed, and a car came by and kind of, I think, sideswiped him, but he stepped on the curb and rolled his ankle.
Ooh.
And so he came I think they were on the ice like a few days later, and he just tried to go on the ice and say like he stepped on a puck, and then so he wouldn't, but they found out what actually happened because there was a police report or something like that. And so he didn't get paid his deal. Like they said, no, you got hurt doing something unbecoming of a Boston Bruin or something. So they withheld pay. I remember in Cape Breton, there's a local mountain, a ski mountain. Like, so I got my snowboard sent out from back home, and me and like Greg DeVries and David Oliver, Todd Marchant, that first lockout year, we would all go skiing. And so I think I've told this story, but I didn't have, with snowboarding, you fall on your wrists, right? So my wrists were just killing me. And so in the game, I couldn't play the puck because it hurt my wrists too much. So I was snowboarding too much. And then so the one game, Pete Mahovlich was our coach, and they'd ring the puck around, and usually I'd go out and stop it. And he'd be like, why isn't Joaquin stopping the puck behind the net? And everyone's going, because he's snowboarding too much and he can't stop the puck.
Sold out.
His wrists are broken. And so we had to pull it back on the snowboarding. But yeah, if they found out and I got hurt, a lot of guys got hurt skiing, and they would say before a practice, just go out, step on a puck, and call for the trainer and say, oh, yeah.
Strutty did that, but playing basketball, I think at like MSG or United Center, and he rolled his ankle, and he did the same thing. He went out, he taped it up, took a few laps, and said, "Oh, I fell on a puck."
Yeah, but you have to, because they can say, "Yeah, you're not getting paid. You're on your own too." Like, get all your physio and everything. They have the right to do it, but
that's harsh. But I guess it's fair.
Joaquin Gage, Tom Gazzola, Reid Wilkins with you. Two guys and a goalie on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. Incredible stories, as always, from Joaquin Gage. He has no limits to the tales he can tell. I don't know what the rookies in Penticton are going to do. I think they used to go to Bob Nicholson's house for a dinner.
What a house.
Their team, Bill. You got to go.
Oh, yeah.
You're a lucky man.
It is phenomenal.
Yeah?
Yeah. A lot of bling. from all those championships,
gold medals.
Yeah.
Tom, you and I covered this tournament. You would have gone, well, I don't know, you probably wanted to do a couple more than I did, but certainly 13 through 18 or 19. There was one year they didn't have it, and then the pandemic they didn't have it, and then
I did like 5
Ched
or 6
stopped
of them.
sending me, which I kind of was almost fine at that point with, because it
good
changed
and
after
annoying.
McDavid and Draisaitl, and some of those players weren't in the tournament in terms of the hype and coverage that was demanded around the Oilers team.
Oh yeah, I mean it's almost better for the main group if that's the case. Like, you're not as excited about the rookies. I think if you're excited about a rookie camp, you're probably not a Stanley Cup contender. I'm assuming so. I can see how that kind of wears off. Penticton's a great place, but yeah.
There was so much hype the first Penticton. I mentioned that it was in Camrose the one year, and then somebody mentioned they should move it around, have it in different cities, like smaller cities, WHL city, whatever, junior A cities, resort towns, whatever. I don't disagree with that. Like, I think that would be great, but it's a Canucks hosted event. Start there. And then I think the other teams, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, and Winnipeg, are just happy with it now.
Yes.
Because all of the hotels and things to do, because they do a team activity on their off day, usually all the teams do, are right there. And I think every one of those teams and organizations is pretty satisfied. And I know the city of Penticton also likes having it. Because the mayor of Penticton, he's the taller guy with glasses. I can't remember his name. Dan? I can't remember. Really nice guy, but he also runs the stats.
Really?
Yeah, and he's involved, right? Like, smaller town mayors, being the mayor does come with pay, but it's not always the full-time job. And so he was always at the rink, and he would be like, "Hey Tom, you need stats today?" "Yeah, I'll take the stats from that last game." and he'd be running around. And if you need something, he'd take care of it. He was the mayor. Great guy.
It's a great rink. I was saying this yesterday afternoon.
Yes, it is.
I mean, it's a WHL caliber rink. Junior A. Like I always thought, because I covered several Allen Cups in Lloyd, as you guys know. Like, well, that would be a great spot for the Allen Cup. If the senior hockey ever went there. And the broadcast location, it's an actual booth. They're sort of in the corner from where they call the game from, but it's not just you're stuck in the stands and you got to huddle in with everybody else. It is a great rink. So when we look at this, and the Oilers rookies play the Canucks rookies tomorrow 8:30, Calgary Saturday at 8:30, and then the game against the Winnipeg Young Stars will be Monday at noon Mountain Time, and then they usually come home Monday night. So look, of course I want to see how Savoy does, and Akey is still interesting. I mean, you got Gruby up front, Petrov, who now 3 years after being drafted, what can he do? But also, okay, you can't stake their whole futures on this tournament. Is this, Joaquin, more about let's just get these guys together and see how they behave in a team environment and introduce them to more of a professional than junior level? Or if you were running an organization, what's the priority here?
I think it's for a lot of these guys, this is the highest competition that they'll play against up to this point. Like you're getting to play against the top prospects of other NHL teams from all over the world too, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, a handful of these guys have played World Juniors, obviously, but from a organizational standpoint, I think they want to see how they compete and who separates themselves a little bit, right? Like, is there flashes of brilliance from certain guys that elevate their game? It's a chance for a lot of these guys to hopefully get invited to main camp too. Like a lot of times it's a week and back to junior or what have you. So a lot can happen over these next, and it's a short time to create kind of get an impression on the people.
Here's one, and this is like you want good to come out of this camp, and like you said, Gager, it's a unique challenge in terms of the level of competition and all these players come together from all over the world, different levels, and it's just condensed into a 4 or 5 day span. And the guys would always say, it seems like it's somewhere in the AHL type range level of play, but not quite, because the guys are generally younger. And you want to show well, you want to establish yourself. As soon as you mention the separation from the pack within your own organization as a prospect, it reminded me of something I think that was the opposite. And I remember the Dustin Penner trade. The Oilers got the 19th overall pick from the Kings, which ended up being Oscar Klefbom. And they also got Colton Tubert, who was a first rounder in 2008. I think he was 13th overall out of Regina. World Juniors, obviously. A really good guy. And he got sent from the Monarchs before the Kings sent their AHL team to Ontario to the Oklahoma City Barons. And I got sent down there that weekend because he was going to make his Barons debut and he was going to play 2 games. And he was just a lightning rod, and he was a beast out there hitting guys. I think he scored a goal. He was all over it and introduced by himself, and he was just a great character, Colton Tubert. And he had a strong finish to his season with the Barons as a young defenseman, first rounder, ready to take that next step, right? They had him play in the Young Stars Classic. He was supposed to be the leader, the captain of the team next year, naturally, right? And he got into a fight with Adam Palasic with the Canucks at the time, Canucks rookies, and he got knocked out.
Okay.
Yeah, he took a flush shot to the beak, and it got him good, and it messed him up. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, I hope this doesn't derail him and change his outcome with the Oilers within the organization. Don't get me wrong, they were in the decade of darkness. Mm-hmm. But I think it hurt him and the perception of him maybe as well. And like that's kind of the flip side, which we don't always talk about going into one of these camps, because he was an AHL guy all of the year prior and an impactful one on the Barons blue line. And I remember that, and I'm like, oh, that kind of set him back, it felt like.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a few guys. I mean, I guess you could kind of say, if you remember Nick Stadjahar.
Yeah.
Nick was very talented confident defenseman, I would say. Just a hoot to be around. But he had that incident outside of, I think it was Barry Tees at the time, got hit in the head. Guy came out, hit him with a beer bottle or something, and he woke up in the hospital. And
Scary.
And I mean, he was touted to be a guy that could quarterback the power play for the Edmonton Oilers, and that destroyed him. I mean, obviously it happened off the ice, but I think from his year prior, everything was lining up perfectly for him to do something special. And yeah, just I played with him again later on in Portland, Maine, and he was great, but man, he just at times he just got headaches and couldn't play.
That's messed up. That's too bad.
So when you and then Gager, when you became a more seasoned player, in other words, you aged. So whether you were with the Oilers or on an AHL team, when a younger player joined the team, whether he made it out of camp or mid-season, there's this whole perception that there's a pecking order, and the vets never have to carry their equipment or pay for a meal, and then the rookies got to pick up all the pucks and ride in the luggage area of the bus, all that all those sort of things. But what was it really like? Did you want a rookie to come in and be deferential, or would you sooner be like, hey kid, like you can have some swagger, you can be yourself a little bit? Like,
yeah, I don't think you want a guy to come in and think it's his team,
right?
Too, right? You want a little humility is fine. The arrogance. We were the last year I played with the Edmonton Oilers. Mike Comrie came late, right? So, and Mike and Sidney Crosby were leading, like they were point for point in the CHL at that point. Sidney was 16, I think. Right. Mike was 20, so it was an age differential. But when they're coming out of junior, they're considered pretty close. And what we heard from everyone was how arrogant Mike was. So I remember Bill Guerin and Dougie saying like, oh, if he comes in thinking this is his team, like he's got another thing coming, right? Like we're like, yeah. I was eating popcorn in the players' lounge, just couldn't wait for this to happen, right? And so Mike showed up, and he basically in the old rink there was that little side door. I don't know what.
I know what it was. The PR team had their offices down the side there. Okay. Yeah.
I think he actually signed his deal in there, like before the game. Like he was in there prior or something. And he came in, and I saw him. I looked at him, and he looked like a scared little puppy coming into like the pound. And right then I know, he's a good dude. Like he was worried about how he would be taken because he was holding out and stuff. So everyone was saying, well, how is this kid that hasn't played a game in the NHL? How does he have this much clout and stuff? But he was a good hockey player, and he came and just completely humble, fit right in to the lineup. Right. So, yeah, I think that's what you want. And he knew how good he was. Like there was some hockey confidence. And I mean, when you're 20 and you're toe dragging guys at the blue line and being the last guy, there's some confidence there to keep doing that type of stuff. So, yeah, you want some humility, but you want that, maybe more of that quiet confidence on the ice, and then it can build from there. And I mean, within a few weeks, he was ribbing guys and stuff. So, yeah, it was. We didn't know what we were going to get with Mike, but it turned out for the best.
I remember that season. I was working in Lloyd, and with Kootenay, this was 2000, 2001. He had 79 points in 37 games. And then with the Oilers, he did pretty well, 22 and 41. But also he was, even though he wasn't a Lloyd-Minster guy, he was in interest because there's a lot of Oilers fans in Lloyd, and because it's an AJHL town.
Yeah.
And in 98 with the Saints, he had 138 points in 58 games. Like it's one of the great. I think him and Heatley have two of the greatest AJHL seasons of all time.
Absolutely insane. And you ended up playing men's league, the AMHL team, with Paul Comrie for years after that. I remember.
Yeah,
that.
no. When I got home done, Paul gave me a shout and said, "We need a goalie."
Yeah.
That's a funny story too, because my my first Bernese Mountain Dog, took him to the vet, Dr. Barton in Ermiskin. I took him in there, and I saw his plaque, and it's like Glasgow Veterinary School. I guess it's a massive veterinary school in Glasgow. It's one of the most prestigious ones. I go, oh, Glasgow. And he goes, yeah, you played in Ayr. And I go, yeah. He goes, I came to some of your games. I'm like, no way. So I was in Ayr while he was going to veterinary school. And we're talking. He goes, yeah, I'm a goalie too. I go, come on, man, this is crazy. So, and then he goes, yeah, and yeah, I hear you're playing with Hazmat. I go, this is getting weird, man.
How do you know? Good team, by the way. We played against you guys once.
And then he says, yeah, I used to be the goalie for Hazmat. And then he was pulling out this huge needle to stick in my dog, and I just took this guy's job, and now but we're still friends. But it worked out all right for me and Mr. Barton.
So wait, you played against Gager in men's league?
Yeah, against that Hazmat team.
And was Gager the goalie?
Yes.
Did you score on him?
No, I ringed one off his head
on purpose.
Nope, I was trying to score.
Yeah.
I
was standing straight up, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just a little bit outside. They were very good. We knew they were very good. We got bumped up to Division 1 that summer, I think it was. And we're like, oh, crap. We have to play against like old Oilers. I didn't know Joaquin at the time, obviously, but you knew who a bunch of them were. And I think they mopped the floor with us. It was like 11-4 or 11-5. And we're a bunch of junior
So what other
B
former
guys.
pros were on the team?
None.
But there was like WHL,
yeah,
like really
good
good players.
Okay,
And they had a reputation.
Some U of A guys and stuff like that. So
like being awesome, and you're like, oh my god, I have to back check today. This is BS. Like, that's why I drink beer and see my buddies. But they had a really, really, really good team, and I remember ringing one off his head. I'm like, sorry, man. And the handshake line, he's like, that's okay. Now we're friends.
Yeah,
and coworkers.
Joaquin was probably like, "What do you? I don't even remember
It
that
felt like
play."
a muffin hit me. It was.
I didn't notice. Joaquin Gage, Tom Gazzola, Reid Wilkins with you. It is two guys and a goalie on Edmonton Sports Talk. Your clear choice for Edmonton sports. All right. So Oilers rookie camp or the Young Stars Classic starts tomorrow in Penticton. Main camp. They got the the vets are still doing the casual skate or whatever they're calling them this year at the DCA today. Medical and physical testing on Wednesday, and then on ice on Thursday, as Tom told you yesterday on Twitter, and he hopped on my show at 3:00. Kane and Nurse, not expected to participate, I guess until
Yeah. So okay, listen, like. The surprise is more so Darnell Nurse. Sounds like he's got I've been told by multiple sources, a lingering issue from the playoffs, injury, and they're expecting him to be, good to go or in the mix towards the end of training camp. He's been skating, which is a good sign. And so that was the biggest news. But also just I've been told that expect to hear Evander Kane's going to get surgery.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's not really a surprise either, but it's just been so back and forth, like mixed signals. And then yesterday I was told, expect him to get surgery.
Is it not concerning to hear that Darnell Nurse still has a nagging injury from the end of the season?
That's what I thought. I was like, come on. And then I was told, not going to be ready for the start of camp.
That's concerning to me if it's still bothering him. It's a reason to, that's a long time to heal and get everything back to normal.
Right. And that's different than like Matthias Ekholm last year got hurt. I don't know if it was during captain skates, do you recall, Reid, or if it was training or something like that. But remember that hip thing?
Yeah, he had a hip thing. I can't remember when it happened, but he didn't play a preseason game and then missed the first game of the season.
Well, we were looking for him on training, and he's like, oh, he's not out here. And then Jay Woodcroft would be like, he'll be here soon.
Yeah.
He's around.
Yeah.
I was like, well, can we talk to him? Is he here?
But he was fine. Obviously, it didn't. Well, it might have bothered him early in the season.
He had a rough start. Like,
as everybody,
you could tell.
Almost everybody did.
There was some moments where he got turned around a little bit, and you're like, that's not really.
Yeah.
He's usually closing better than that. Elite defenseman, obviously, and then clearly, either he adapted or it got better.
It is interesting, and we've talked about this, but how many Oilers fans? Well, I mean, there's enough that I've noticed the chatter or things have said to me. I don't know if it's a majority, but who are almost cheering for Evander Kane to go on LTIR.
That's weird.
Yeah.
He's a very good player.
Well, but they all wanted, like, we got to do what Vegas did. Like, those stupid Golden Knights. Oh, they did with Kucherov. We got LTIR guard. Just bring it back for the playoffs.
Well, it's weird that you hear that a lot of it hasn't been fixed yet. So it tells me that GMs are fine with it.
And that's the sentiment that we hear. Like, we asked Pagnotta about that, and he's like, they could have fixed it. They don't want to fix it.
They don't want to fix it.
It's a tool in the tool belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. They like to have this if it rears its ugly head. I mean, yeah, if you could have Darnell Nurse and Evander Kane at the trade deadline have to go on the long-term IR and free up that cap space, that's amazing.
Yeah.
What you could be able to do with that, but that's a long time to sit out.
Yeah, and there's nobody really left to throw that money at, and then Nurse, should be good to go some point later in camp.
All right, we are going to hire it or fire it for GS Construction, who are hiring now. Become a part of their great team today by visiting gsconstruction.ca or their page on indeed.ca. For the past 50 years, the foundation of GS Construction has been built on efficiency, quality, and safety. Take your career to the next level. Join the team at GS Construction. Joaquin came up with this idea. He was like, we should just talk about this. It's a fun topic for September 12th. We're going to hire it or fire it with Ovechkin passing Gretzky in goals. Ovechkin's at 853. Gretzky's at 894. That should be a gap of 41. If I did my math correctly. I got too many tabs open on. You guys are going to get used to that, Bobby. I had his page open and now
Way to go.
I got it. Because I had Joaquin's Hockey DB page up. Actually,
that's a huge page.
Joaquin's Hockey DB is my desktop, my wallpaper.
As it should be.
That's Craig McTavish made a reference to that, saying how you look at my Hockey DB page and you really get to know that Joaquin loved the game because there's not a lot of leagues he didn't play in.
Mac T with some just classic zingers.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah, a lot of good
what
lines.
a great man.
So, okay, so there's two ways to approach this, I guess, with Ovechkin is will he do it and will he do it this year? He did have 31 last year for a Capitals team that was underwhelming and then kind of interesting, even though they made it in a weaker Eastern Conference. They still made it and did what they had to do, and his second half of the season was far better. He had 42 the year before that, and he still had 50 the year before that in 2021, 2022. He is about to turn 39 on September 17th.
He's a week older than me.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, Tommy, you're still scoring at his pace anyway, so don't worry about it.
That's my buddy. That's a glue guy right there.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So is it inevitable now though that he'll just play till he gets the record?
Of course.
Which is going to be hard. I still think it'll be hard to do this year.
Oh, I think he does it.
You think he gets 41 this year?
All day.
I'm hiring it.
Yeah.
I think it's just that's his singular focus right now. I love TJ Oshie and Strome saying our sole responsibility is to get him the puck all season long.
Mm-hmm.
And when was that game that the Caps played the Oilers here last year? Was it in the...
I can check quickly. I thought it was in the first half of the year.
It was pretty early.
Well, the game
Was it
at
early?
Washington was the first half of the year.
No,
Yeah.
I think it was later. Was it?
I
or
think
was
they
it?
played them twice in a month span, something like that. Because
I'll check.
the 5-0 win in Washington, that was the EST watch party. We had a
Right.
fun day here. That's where we unveiled the 6 o'clock
Yeah.
lager. Officially, you unofficially got to
Right,
it the
right.
day before.
Yeah.
Just taste testing, and they that's where the season turned.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the second meeting between the Oilers and the Caps at that point because they had lost to them prior at home, I think.
No,
Correct me if I'm wrong, Reid.
I thought it was later. I thought that the home game was... Anyways, the reason why I mention it is Ovechkin should have had 5 goals that game. And if
Yeah.
not for Stuart Skinner, like...
Yep.
Well, that
he
wasn't
made-
until March 13th.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it was
okay.
way-
My bad, my
7-2
bad.
Edmonton.
Yeah, it was ridiculous how many good scoring chances Ovi got. He didn't get a goal that game, and just the way he played, I mean, he was sniffing a lot.
Yes.
He was. I don't think he came back over the red line that game, and stayed out for the entire 2 minutes of every power play.
Yep.
But hey, they still made the playoffs. I just think that he's gonna be juiced for this season, and I think we're on Ovi watch by March that he's within maybe probably 8 to 10 goals.
I'm double hiring it too. Yes, he gets it done. Yes, he gets it done this year. I think get that little Russian gas pump going. And you know what? When he wants to set his mind to something, he's the type of guy that just bulldozes his way through. I think we're going to see it this year. And, good on him. Honestly, probably the best goal scorer, like pure goal scorer, I feel like, of all time in the world of hockey.
Easily. Because he'd have this thing obliterated without luck.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah, good point. And the games played is not. I mean, he's only played 61 fewer games than Gretzky, right? Really? I mean, it's not like the other day. Jay and I were talking about McDavid potentially reaching 2,000 points, which he has a realistic chance to do. Mm-hmm. But even as prolific as that is, he'd play and even passing Gretzky as the Oilers' all-time leading scorer, which he could do in 5-ish years. How many more games he played than Wayne.
Points,
but
right?
Yeah, but the gap for games played between Ovechkin and Gretzky is not that great. I will hire that he does it. I will fire that he does it this year. I'll be a little more pessimistic about him getting to 41, as great as he is. And yes, that he's going to get fed a lot by his teammates.
Yeah.
But, they believe that there's still going to be some structure there, that they want to win games. But perhaps it could come down to Brownie and I used to talk about this all the time, empty netters.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like how much could that quote unquote pad? I mean, a goal's a goal, but if the Capitals continue what they did late last season, that they actually win more often than they lose, and the games are tight.
Those 1-goal games,
Those 1-goal games. I mean, like Gretzky's the all-time leader, oddly enough, in empty net goals as well. So anyway, all fire, but it has become a fun watch, and that's the thing. These players that not just excel, but can continue to excel into their late 30s, and for him, likely into his 40s. I mean, even if he gets the record this year, do you think he just shuts it down? I think he keeps playing.
He's got a few more years on that deal.
Why not keep playing?
Yeah, I don't see him. I see him just running out this. Maybe not going to the end. I don't know.
I could see him finishing it out.
I could see him wanting to win one more cup too.
Yeah, that's going to be tough they got to turn it on a dime in Washington.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a great Gretzky quote when he finished up his career. I think he had 9 goals and like 61 assists or something like that last season, somewhere around there. But he had 9 goals, I know that. And somebody asked him, like, why don't you play another year? You still had 70 points or whatever. And he goes, yeah, but I only had 9 goals all year long. That used to be a good weekend. And
That's a good point. Yeah.
That's a great quote.
That's a great point.
True. Like Thursday through Saturday, you get a couple games in there and Wayne pops off for a few. And
yeah. Well, in that era, like you never knew what you were going to get, right?
Yeah.
Well, he also said, did anyone ever ask you what it would take to bring you back one more year? He said, no, and he said, no one ever asked me. And they said, so what would it take? And he said, if I could probably play with Pavel.
Really?
Wow. That's what he said, yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, even Gretz at that age playing with Bure, he was still, 61 assists still that year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, jeez.
I think that's what it was.
I made a mistake, guys. Ovechkin has already passed Gretzky in career empty net goals.
Oh.
So he's number one.
Ovechkin has 57. Gretzky has 56. Do you want to take a wild stab at who's third in empty net goals?
Third in empty netters.
He's played this century.
And
he's Slovakian. Yeah.
This century.
Zygmunt Palffy.
Good guess. He was actually drafted in 97, 12th overall by the Senators.
Marian Hossa.
Marian Hossa has 40 empty net goals. So it goes Ovechkin 57, Gretzky 56, Hossa 40, Crosby 35, Marchand 34. This is interesting because it's more recent guys. And then Mario and Eric Stahl both had 33. You would have thought they would have had Mario out there more often, or he would have had more empty net goals.
Yeah.
You just steal the puck from the guy with his reach.
Did his heavy lifting.
Shoot it down the ice.
Gretzky, by the way, 62 points that last year. Did have the 9 goals, 53 assists. He had 90 his second year, or his second last year.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy that he was still putting up those numbers.
Yeah, and he had the 62 points in 70 games his final season. He dropped from 23 goals in 97-98 to 9.
Yeah.
Didn't he have a hat trick in one of the last games too?
I think that was against Vancouver in Vancouver.
Was it? I thought it was Van Beesbrook at Madison Square.
Oh, maybe he did. Was that in the playoffs?
So we had 9. We had that great game that he put a couple slap shots right inside the post. I think in 90. I think Florida won the series, or maybe not. But that's the thing about Gretzky. So he averaged all what was it, 1.91, 1.92 points per game, and how much that dropped the last few seasons with him aging and the game getting a little more locked down.
Crazy.
I mean, if he retires a couple years sooner, he's like over 2 points a game for his career, his career, which is pretty incredible. So Ovechkin 57 empty netters and Gretzky at 56. Rob Brown predicted a couple years ago that McDavid would get 10 empty net goals, and he didn't, but that was the year he still scored 60.
64.
I remember another story Gretzky was saying on an interview about Brett Hull giving him crap because, but you had whatever, you had 10 empty netters this year or something, and Gretz giving it right back to me. Well, I'm defensively responsible, and you just don't get out at the end of the game. So good.
Those two are pretty funny. I was fortunate to be in the same room with them this past summer. Talk about characters, man.
Yeah, I've heard just great stories.
And your old teammate Doug was there, and Ray Whitney.
Razor.
Where was this? Can you say?
It was in Coeur d'Alene.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm just like, what the hell am I doing here?
So does Brett Hull have a place there too, or does he visit?
Yeah,
he does. Yeah. So is that where they have the course with the floating green?
That's across the lake,
So
but
it's same general area.
Yeah, same general area.
Gozer?
Well, not floating.
Gazer. Yeah. Cliff Ronning had in Westlock, I golf him. He had a Gazer Ranch golf bag.
It is a beautiful. I had the good fortune of golfing it again this past. Absolutely amazing golf course.
Crazy.
Amazing.
Tarps off, Tommy?
Tarps. No, Pat Maroon was with us. No tarps off. Patty said. I'm just kidding.
So Gager's not like, what did you shoot? Like,
not bad. Those guys are such good golfers. Like
that's the. I guess it's not a floating green. Like it's on a track or something.
Yeah,
so they can change the distance.
I would love
every
to
day.
play. I think that's the resort casino.
So you haven't played. You haven't played
course.
that one.
No, but everyone loves it and they speak so highly of it. That's one of the first things people say. Have you tried that golf?
Yeah,
right.
I'm like, no, I'd love to. Maybe I'll make a point of doing it. It's a great resort town too. Imagine Kelowna, kind of similar to that in a way.
Okay.
Maybe less hardcore partying though, but some.
All right. So you guys both have Ovechkin passing Gretzky's goal record this year. I will say it happens in the following season. What is there? Do we put any stakes on this?
Steak dinner.
Steak dinner. The steaks are steaks.
The steaks are the steaks.
All right.
Corey the Butcher, let's get some steaks ready. Acme Meats.
Drop off the skates.
Yep.
All right, just to wrap it up here. So what we went over Gage's rookie camp stories and staying at the Forum/Coliseum Inn and going to K-Days and shooting a guy in the junk with paintballs.
That was fun.
With Louis DeBrusque.
I bet.
We covered the Penticton tournament. Is there anybody, like I'm kind of, I guess, part of me, the old sentimental part of me is kind of pulling for Matt Savoy.
Yeah.
This
I
weekend,
get it. I'm with you.
And the Oilers need somebody pushing at forward eventually. Like they're going to need forwards on entry-level contracts or young forwards to excel because I think they're not overly deep organizationally there.
They're going to need someone to step forward like those young guys in Dallas, right? That's what
they've done a great job. Wyatt Johnston, Ty Dellandrea, obviously Jason Roberts, and their drafting and developing has been excellent.
Yeah, probably best in the league.
Who's the younger guy?
What's the other guy? You're missing one of them. I think Wyatt Johnson. I saw him doing some stick handling drills.
Yeah,
jeez. Completely nasty.
Well, and that's another thing. This would be a good topic for another day.
Stankoven, Thomas Harley.
The creativity is now encouraged in hockey as opposed to like, whoa, kid.
Yeah.
Don't stand out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like Kelly
Yeah.
Rudy told me how he now is interested in watching warm up because he just sees the young guys
Yeah.
just trying stuff,
Doing weird
going
stuff.
out by center and stick handling all over. By the way, Scott Allison, you mentioned.
Yeah.
2007. This was one of the last things I covered in Lloydminster because I left about a month after this. The Allen Cup was in Stony Plain.
Okay.
The Border Kings wound up winning it, the Lloyd Border Kings. I did play-by-play for the Lloyd radio station. Scott Allison was playing on the Halifax team.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That was at the tournament. They lost out in the quarter. Everybody made the quarterfinals, but they had some crazy. So I interviewed him, right, and because he was this relatively high pick.
Oh, he's the
right,
first
that
rounder
didn't-
to Edmonton.
Didn't pen out, but it was really fun. And they had some crazy game, like they were losing 8-1 and they wound up losing 9-6 or something like that. The third period.
Did he tell you the story of when he got drafted?
No, we didn't have time for that. I don't think. Anyway, this was a while ago.
Yeah, so he gets drafted first overall by the Edmonton Oilers. Whatever year, 90. What would have that been? 91, 90. Anyway, walks down to the table, goes to shake Slats' hand, and he goes, "Hello, Mr. Sather," and he goes, "Yeah, Calgary picked next," and he goes, "We heard Calgary was going to pick you. We didn't want you, but we just picked them so they didn't get you." That's what.
Said-
Welcome to the
Well,
family, kid.
That's why. It's a little bit different reason for drafting people back then. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. This has been a blast. Tom and I sitting in today on Two Guys and a Goalie with the goalie, Joaquin Gage. You're sticking around.
Yeah,
You
I
got
got work to
your
do,
show with
yes.
Herndon coming up. I'll rejoin you at 3:00 with Jay Milne. Tom, you're on. Are you on tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning because
Yep.
Dusty's traveling for CFL broadcast. Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. Thanks for listening.